I feel like the first question everyone probably wanted to ask from that press conference yesterday about Tylenol and autism was, what? Let's go ahead and get started with probably one of the most ironic things that the president said yesterday as he stood there.
$1,300 for a shot of like an Ozempic or the fat, I call it the fat pill or the fat drug. Sometimes it works, I guess, for people. The ones I've seen, it hasn't worked so well. I got a lot of friends, they're fat. They said, yeah, I lost some weight. I said, you don't look it to me. But they paid $1,300, $1,200, and they go to London and they pay $88. And they call me, they go, what's this all about? We're subsidizing the rest of the world stupidly because we have a lot of stupid people in this country running things. And how big is that? But to me, that's nothing compared to autism.
Donald Trump said that we got a lot of stupid people in this country running things. I mean, maybe he forgot who's running things. Maybe he is actually that stupid. Also, he called Ozempic, he calls it the fat pill. There's probably reasons why he calls it the fat pill instead of Ozempic, because although he can pronounce Ozempic, he definitely can't pronounce this one.
Effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of let's see how we say that, acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol during pregnancy, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism.
Well, at least his dumbass knocked Tylenol out of the park. Tylenol. He really punched that one. It's like, I got that one. Good job. Acetaminophen. Who knows? Whatever. I said it, but I'm only here talking. I have no idea what I'm saying. As a matter of fact, I don't even know which kind of drugs I'm talking about and how they're pronounced. That so many people know whether or not they've taken it or not, how that's pronounced. Whatever. But the main thing he's there to talk about is how it causes autism. And you should trust him because he doesn't know anything. But he kept exhibiting how people that are smart, have brains, and know what they're saying and doing, how he refutes them and has absolutely no reason for why he refutes them.
I was hoping that you could clear up confusion for moms and dads across America, many of whom voted for you. There's a statement that was put out by the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and in their statement, they write, acetaminophen remains a safe, trusted option for pain relief during pregnancy. And that's at odds with what you said and with what many of the experts say. How do you clear up this confusion?
That's the establishment. They're funded by lots of different groups. And you know what? Maybe they're right. I don't think they are, because I don't think the facts bear it out at all. They're fighting for something that, in my opinion, they shouldn't be fighting for. But here's the thing. There's no downside to doing, other than a mother will have to, as I say, tough it out a little bit. There's no downside to doing this.
Experts say the opposite of what you're saying. Well, apparently that's just the establishment. And maybe they're right. How do I know? I haven't thought about any of this. I don't know what this means. I don't know who this group is that you're mentioning, because what I've done is I've stood up here and has given prepared words to say as I then ramble off on the side about the things that I don't know or do know. And in my opinion, based on the facts, which one is it, bro? Is it your opinion or is it the facts? And would someone please, maybe one time, maybe for the first time ever in this dumb fuck's history, ever ask him, what facts are you referring to? He keeps saying, look at this, look at that, look at the facts. I haven't seen the facts. You tell me, where are those facts? And the back end of that, he mentioned how pregnant women, maybe their option rather than taking Tylenol, maybe when they have a fever during pregnancy, is to tough it out. He mentioned it a couple more times.
It's a small number of cases, I think. But if you can't tough it out, if you can't do it, that's what you're going to have to do. You'll take a Tylenol, but it'll be very sparingly. It can be something that's very dangerous to the woman's health. In other words, a fever that's very, very dangerous, and ideally a doctor's decision, because I think you shouldn't take it. And you shouldn't take it during the entire pregnancy. They may tell you that toward the end of the pregnancy, you shouldn't take it during the entire. And you shouldn't give the child a Tylenol every time he's born and he goes and has a shot. You shouldn't give a Tylenol to that child.
Donald Trump, who obviously has never had a child, maybe you should just tough it out. Get over it. What's the matter? It's not like you have a human body growing inside of you. It's not like you have to give birth. It's not like there's complications that he's never heard of, and anyone else in this Republican Party, especially as we've seen them exhibit every time they've talked about their anti-choice stances on women's issues. They've told us that. But what he's got is some advice for pregnant women to tough it out in case you've got a fever. You don't have to be a doctor to understand these very simple things that I found in like 5 seconds. Here's the first question: can having a fever hurt my baby? Let me give you guys this very clear answer. Having a fever during pregnancy, especially during your first trimester, may cause problems for your baby. People who had a fever just before or during early pregnancy were more than twice as likely to have a baby with a neural tube defect than those who didn't have a fever. NTDs are birth defects of the brain, spine, and spinal cord. And according to the CDC, before this dumb took over, getting 400 micrograms of folic acid every day while pregnant can reduce the risk of neural tube defects, even if you have a fever. A temperature higher than 103 during the first trimester may also increase the risk of, here's 4 things. I really want you guys to pay attention to these 4 things that a fever could increase. Autism spectrum disorder. It's like what we're talking about. Cleft lip and cleft palate, congenital heart disease, and miscarriage. Devastating things like that. Let me give you guys the best part of this information. I scrolled down and it said, what should I do if I have a fever? Here it is. Call your provider if you have a fever. Most pregnant women, most pregnant people can take acetaminophen, that word Donald Trump can't pronounce, also known as Tylenol, to lower their temperature. Just tough it out. Just tough it out with those fevers and those pains. And then afterwards, end up potentially risking your pregnancy altogether, risking other health complications for you and your child, even that thing that they're calling a scourge of the earth, autism. It's almost like they don't know what they're talking about. Here's another clear indication of that.
Hepatitis B is sexually transmitted. There's no reason to give a baby that's almost just born hepatitis B. So I would say wait till the baby is 12 years old and formed and take hepatitis B.
Pause there on the fact that he thinks that a 12-year-old girl is ready to, be sexually active, because I think that's a little bit of a window into his brain and maybe his activities. But still, geez, hepatitis B is only transmitted sexually, says Donald Trump. And he's right. Hepatitis B is sexually transmitted. And matter of fact, he said it again.
Hepatitis B, again, that's sexually transmitted. And we think you should wait. I think you should wait till 12. I'm making these statements from me. I'm not making them from these doctors, because when they talk about, different results, different studies, I talk about a lot of common sense, and they have that too. They have that too, a lot. But I recommend the hepatitis B. Take it at 12. Sexually transmitted. You don't have to give it to the baby when the baby's 2 years old. And there are a lot of theories on that, but not when they're 12. It's not.
He's really stressing the 12-year-old girls need to, with their sexually activity. But again, he sees people referring to studies and research. And what he leans on is common sense in his empty brain. It's not like it's hidden. It's not like they're hiding it. It's not like he's not outright saying, I'm probably wrong about everything I'm saying, but I just like to go off the cuff and say stupid things, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. And after I say those things, it should be seen as standard scientific practice, even though I just said it has nothing to do with research, nor practices, nor scientific basis for anything. So let's revisit one more time. Hepatitis B, it's only transmitted sexually. It's weird. It's weird because I did this other thing. I looked it up. This is the way hepatitis B is primarily transmitted through the following routes. Is direct contact with infected blood or body fluids. Okay, sure. Sharing needles or syringes for injecting drugs. No, that's not babies. Maybe that's 12-year-olds in his world too. Sexual contact with an infected person, a 12-year-old with Donald Trump. Okay. From mother to child during childbirth. I'll say it again. From mother to child during childbirth. Indirect contact with contaminated objects, sharing personal items such as razors, toothbrushes, or nail clippers, contact with blood or bodily fluids on contaminated surfaces. There's some risk factors. Being born in a country where HBV is common, which Trump is trying to make sure it's going to happen. Having multiple sexual partners, working in healthcare or other professions that involve exposure to blood or bodily fluids. It's almost like there's more ways than just sexually transmitted ways to get hepatitis B. But who cares? Donald Trump doesn't know what he's talking about. That was the whole basis for this entire press conference, to say what he doesn't know what he's talking about. And then after saying that should then be the standard. Here's more of it.
And by the way, I think I can say that there are certain groups of people that don't take vaccines and don't take any pills that have no autism. Does that tell you something? That's currently, is that a correct statement, by the way?
There are some studies that suggest that, yeah, with the Amish, for example.
The Amish, yeah, virtually. I heard none. See, Bobby wants to be very careful with what he says, and he should, but I'm not so careful with what I say. But you have certain groups, the Amish as an example, they have essentially no autism.
He exhibited right there how his brain functions. He comes up with something, and because he's standing in front of cameras, and I think maybe his brain is like, yo, you're saying a lot of, inaccurate things that just coming out of the top of your head. So he asks, is that a correct statement, Bobby? Maybe possibly the dumber person that's standing behind me? It must be the Amish, because since I had to ask if there's any groups, and then RFK Jr. says the Amish, I then say, you see, I've heard that there's none. Where did you hear that? Because you just heard RFK Jr. just tell you that it's the Amish, and he didn't say anything about none, but you got to none. All you have to do is pay attention to what he's saying, and you'll discover he doesn't know what he's talking about. You'll discover that when he comes to these ironclad conclusions, they're not based in anything except for what someone mentioning. Amish, I believe Amish? It must be the Amish. Oh, so the Amish have 100% virtually no autistic folks. We don't have to disprove that. It's quite obvious that that's stupid and it doesn't make any sense. So he went on to another group.
And I will say there are parts of the world that don't take Tylenol. I mean, there's a rumor, and I don't know if it's so or not, that Cuba, they don't have Tylenol because they don't have the money for Tylenol, and they have virtually no autism, okay? Tell me about that one. And there are other parts of the world where they don't have Tylenol, where they don't have autism. That tells you a lot.
It tells me a lot. It tells me a lot about this guy. Because, Cuba doesn't have enough money for Tylenol. There's no way. They don't have it. And on top of that, he also said, what does that tell you? Look at it. Proof positive. Cuba came out of the top of my head. And what do you know? They don't have autism. You know why? Because I just said it. I wonder how many people would actually listen to everything that was going on here and take it seriously anyway. Even the hardcore sycophants. Are people pouring out their Tylenol now in MAGA country? Are they crushing it up and then throwing it into the lake? Are they lining it up in front of the lake and shooting it with a machine gun? I'm just curious, because Donald Trump said Tylenol, dangerous. Matter of fact, he basically said that. Look, this is how he ended the press conference.
The research, a lot of what they've been speaking about comes from right here, by research done by these people. And I just say it again. Don't take Tylenol. Don't take it. And don't give it to your child after your child is born. And do all those other things, little things, just spread out your visits, et cetera, on the vaccine. And I want to thank everybody. This is a very important day. Thank you very much.
That well-known study that has the words et cetera, when detailing what it is that you should and shouldn't do as far as medical advice and scientific study. It goes et cetera. That's how those go. We don't have much time left in this country. It's about a wrap.